Hello and welcome to another skill of the week where we are going to learn how to make a coil pot. This is doing hand building, which means it's just by hand and not on the wheel. And I'm going to show you the materials that we're going to be needing. Okay, we're going to need clay, and this is just low fire white clay, easily manipulated. We're going to need a needle tool, a cleaning tool, possibly a sponge, you might as well have it just in case you need it, a container of water, and something to trace around so that you can create your base. And you're also going to need a bat, which is your portable working surface. Okay, so we're going to get started. I'm going to move the bat off to the side. Oh, and by the way, you want to take off any jewelry. My ring is okay, but like bracelets and watches and things like that, you'll want to take those off. So we're going to start with just getting a chunk of clay. If you have long sleeves that are going to get in the way, you might want to push those up. And I'm just going to grab a couple of chunks off of the main body of clay. Every time you get clay, you want to close up the bag because we don't want to get them dried out. Okay, and then we want to kind of pound this together into a ball. Okay, we really want to pound it in tight because we don't want any air bubbles in it. Okay, so it's a nice size. I'd say a little bit smaller than a baseball. Okay, we're going to take our bat, we're going to put it right down in the center, and we're going to use the heel of our hand to pound out this slab. And I like to flip it over so that I can get it nice and even. But I want you to notice that as I pound it, I'm not slamming it down on the edge. I'm kind of working from the center out, around, and stopping about here. Okay? It will push out on its own. I don't need to hit the edge. Okay? And you want it a 1/4 inch to 3/16 of an inch thick so that it can hold your pot up. Remember that your coil pot is going to be a requirement of 6 inches tall. Okay, so this is a pretty good thickness, and you want it to be the same thickness all the way through. So if you check on your edge, you should be able to see that it's pretty much the same. Okay, when we lay it down, I'm going to use this to trace around. That's where I'm going to use my cleaning tool, the blade end, and I'm going to cut around the outside of what I'm tracing against to create my circle. Now you can get really creative with this. If you want some sort of amorphic shape, you know, something other than a circle, you can certainly create something that's a little bit more creative, whatever you want to do. I'm just going to do a circle to make it a little more easy. Okay, now this probably isn't enough clay to create a coil, so I'm going to move this off to the side because I'm not going to do anything with it yet. I'm going to go ahead and grab some more clay. And I'm going to add that to this batch. Okay. We don't want too much because we don't want it to get out of control. Make sure I close the bag. And you want to make sure you have plenty of space to make your coils. So I would recommend maximum 2 people per table. Okay, now what I like to do to make a coil pot is to kind of pound out this into kind of a hot dog or cigar shape, just to get it started. Okay, so something like that. I'm going to move this stuff off to the side a little bit so we have a little more space. Okay, and this clay is pretty soft right now, so you can tell my hands are sticky with clay, so you don't really need the water at this point. Too much water ends up making your coils slippery and not wanting to stay up. They collapse. Okay, so see what I'm doing? I'm starting in the center, my fingers are spread apart, I'm pulling back with some pressure and heading towards the outside of my coil. Okay, now this part is a little bit too thick, so I'm going to work it a little bit. I'm going to maybe move the table forward a little so you can see a little bit better. Okay, I want to make it a consistent coil. Now if it starts to flatten, you want to push it up and tap it down a little so that we get it back to that kind of coil shape. You want your coil to move at the same rate. So if I'm working on this end, I want to make sure I'm looking down at this end and making sure it's moving at the same rate. Because if I'm working like this and this is flapping back and forth, that's going to cause a twist in the coil. That would not be good. So we want to kind of make sure our coil is the same all the way down. Now if the coil is starting to get a little bit too long to work with, like I'm having a hard time keeping it under control, I can always break it in half and move that off to the side because I can use it again later and continue working this coil. Now I tend to make my coils a little bit thicker because I want it to be able to easily be attached to the next coil. Now I got it a little too skinny right here, so I'm going to just take that off. Now this coil is probably about a half of an inch in, or a little bit less in diameter, and that's pretty good. So I'm going to take my bat and my slab and I'm going to hatch, which just means you're scratching into the surface of the clay. And I like to dig down pretty good because it really you want it to grab on. And it's not going to grab on if you're doing these delicate little lines, okay? That's not going to do anything. You really want to scratch it down. And I like to go over it a couple of times and really get it so that it's roughed up, okay? Then, this is key. You want to press down lightly as you attach this coil. If you just lay the coil on there, it's easily picked up. But if you press it down as you are going, it's going to attach. Okay? And then as you get it back to the spot, I like to just pinch it off like so, smooth it in so that you have a nice even spot, and looky there. Your coil is attached. It's not going to pull off really easy. I can pull on it and it's not coming up. Okay, now again, if I were to just stick it on there, I can just pull it right off. Well, the hatching grabs a hold of it as well as the pressing down. Okay, so to get this built up a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and hatch this. And since this coil is usable, it's not going to stretch all the way around, but I can attach it and just add another piece. Okay, now my seam was originally here. I definitely don't want it there again because that could make it weak. So I'm going to start in another section, press it down. Oh, maybe it will stretch across. Here we go. It might just work. There we go. And it's a perfect fit. So that's great. Okay, smooth that in. And now I've got two coils that are making a circle. Okay, I like to look straight down onto it if I'm trying to create something that's even and symmetrical. And then right there, I've got it made. Now I could go ahead and start another coil, or I could smooth this in, depending on what I'm trying to accomplish. Now, I might want to have a shape that's coming out and back in, like a vase or something like that. So I'm going to go ahead and smooth this in. When you smooth it in, you want to cradle or support that outside edge and come down, okay? Coming down and into the base. I like to use the back of my fingernail because I can get it dug down in there, okay? And you can see I usually do a vertical smoothing first. Now, of course, it's not totally smooth. You'll see what happens when we get it totally smooth. But I'm still supporting that outside while I'm pressing the inside. See, it's kind of a flick of the finger. Now, after doing the vertical smoothing, you can kind of see why I like to have that coil a little bit on the thick side, because I'm taking away some of the clay to smooth it into the base, okay? And I'm going to take away from some of the outside too, and that'll make my coil a little bit thinner. That's why I like to make it a little bit thicker. Okay, so after the vertical, I still am cradling it on the outside, and I'm going to smooth horizontally. So that all of my seams disappear. Okay, and then I get a nice smooth surface with no seams showing. Okay, and then I can do the outside. Now when I do the outside, I need to protect the inside. So it's kind of hard because I don't have my fingers down in there, but I can put a finger here and a finger on top, and that can hold it. And I'm going to just press down and out. This will also attach it to the bat so that it'll hold on and it won't slip and slide and fall off when you pick it up and that kind of thing. Okay, now I don't have much to support, so I actually can just hold my thumb in there, and that works. But as my pot gets bigger, I will need to have my whole hand in there supporting it. But this way you can see how to go about doing this. Okay, so now I've got my vertical smoothing. Kind of looks like a little volcano or something like that. And now I can go ahead and smooth that horizontally. And as long as I'm holding on to that inside and really supporting it, it's going to keep its proper shape. Okay, so now I've done my horizontal smoothing. Yes, there's some areas here that aren't totally smooth, but I can continue to smooth it as I'm working it. And it's still got its nice round shape. Okay, so now I'm ready to build it up a little bit more, and I can take that out or in or whatever. And I think what I'm going to do is take it out first. You can continue to build yours straight up, but I'm going to try and give this a little bit of shape. So I'm trying to hatch more to the outside. If you do hatch a little on top, it doesn't matter, as long as you get most of that hatching towards the outside so that that coil that you're going to put on can grip it on that outside edge. Because as we build out, we will need to take that coil to the outside of on the edge. Okay, so I've got it hatched. So now I'm going to take this piece that I had set off to the side and I'm going to go ahead and finish rolling it. Now there's some dry clay on here, so I don't want that mixed in with my coil. Now, if you've had it sitting out for a long time, because maybe you've had some challenges creating your coil and it's drying out, you'll be able to tell if you turn it like this and little tiny cracks start forming. But this is really nice and wet yet, so it's going to work. Okay, so it didn't take much work to get that to the proper size. So now I'm going to place it slightly to the outside. Not clear, not beside it, but slant it out just a little bit. And again, I'm pressing it down. So that I can't just lift it right off. Okay, pinch it off. And you can tell that it's going out because you can see the previous layer slightly to the inside of this coil. So now it's starting to move its way out. I'm going to do a couple of coils like that. Okay, towards the outside. Again, just scratching into that surface, really roughing it up. Doesn't have to be pretty. You don't have to take your time because all it has to do is be rough. Okay, and now we're going to attach this piece. Okay, I'm going to start it right here, and I'm again going to the outside. Okay, and you can see the previous layer. Okay, you can see each one. That means you're taking it out. You can see it here, that it's starting to work its way out. Okay, and then now I'm going to go ahead and smooth the inside. So I'm really going to cradle it underneath. I'm going to go ahead and stick my thumb on top there and smooth it just to that last coil that was smoothed in. So I don't need to take it all the way down. I just need to bring it to that last coil. Okay, I'm making sure that I'm protecting that outside so I don't push it out flat. Okay, so now I've done my vertical smoothing. Obviously it's not completely smooth, so now I need to do my horizontal. So I'm just going to work from that edge that I created. Okay, I'm going to move to the side so that I can work this so you can see it. So just horizontal smoothing. Protecting that outside, really, really important. Okay. Now I've got it nice and smooth, no seams are showing, okay, and I can smooth the outside. Same kind of thing. I'm just coming down. I like to lean over so I can really see underneath and what I need to smooth. Okay, so now all of that is horizontally attached, and then I can go back and smooth it all in horizontally. I'm sorry, I don't know if I said vertically or horizontally, but it was the vertical, and now I'm going horizontally. And sometimes you get, your finger will be pushing and you'll get some clay off. You can just add that to your other clay, unless it's too dry. Now, the only time you're going to need your water is when your clay gets really dry, and that'll happen from day to day. If you're building for a while and then it's time to clean up and you have to put it all away, well, then the next day when you unwrap it, you find that it's pretty hard. And then you can add a lot of water to it, hatch it, and just get started again. Okay, check that. It's pretty smooth. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to check how level it is. Okay, it's a little bit uneven in a couple of spots, and it could be that I just didn't protect the pot enough, and it might be going out a little bit more there. What you can do is you can just take your cleaning tool and trim some of those edges if you need to. Like this one's coming up a little bit, so I could trim it right there and just take that off. And looks like I got one here that's a little too tall, so I could trim that off. Looks like right here's a little bit too tall. Trim that off. That looks good. Okay. Okay, so I would just continue building in this way, coming out or going in. However, when I want to come back in, I'll hatch on the inside and my coils will start coming in. Okay, so from this point, let's say I'm done for the day and I need to clean up, so I need to make sure that I take my tools and wipe them all off, put them away properly in their buckets, take any excess clay that's still pretty moldable, and you can put it back in the bag. And what we want to do when we're putting it back in the bag is we want to try to keep this clay bag contained in a block form. Okay, so I'm going to just put it in the top, pound it down into the main block, make sure the bag is all packed together, push out any air that might be in there, twist it, and put the twist tie on. Okay, then you can put the clay bag away. Okay, with your pot, you want to wet it down a little bit. Okay, if it's short like this, you don't need to do a whole lot to it. Just get some water on it. Then you're going to take the plastic wrap. Okay, it has this little cutting piece right here. You're going to pull it up. I'm going to move it away a little bit. I don't want to hit my pot. Okay, you're going to pull it up, out, and then at an angle. That's going to pull your sheet of plastic away. Okay, then you want to lay it inside your pot, at least at this stage, so that everything stays moist enough for you to still manipulate the clay. And then tuck it down around your pot. Try not to smash a side or something like that. And then just kind of smooth this all around. And then you can go and put it on a shelf. Okay? From that point, you're going to make sure that you put all of your tools away. We didn't need the sponge, so that can go back in the sponge container. You can go dump the water up and put the container upside down in the other sink. Then we're going to take a damp sponge and we're going to wipe down the table. Just damp. We don't want it dripping wet because it makes it too hard to clean it up. Okay? Okay, got a lot of clay off. So this, if there's a ton of like little pieces on there, brush that into the trash before you rinse it off in the sink. Then you take a few paper towels and you dry off the table. We want no clay residue on the table. So if your paper towels get soaking wet right away, you need to get some more. Because we want that table totally dry. Otherwise, you're just smearing around the clay if you don't get it completely dry. And then we'll have clay residue on it. And then when somebody comes into the art room next and maybe puts their drawing down, they'll have clay on their drawing. And that won't be too fun. Okay. The table is nice and dry. Just keep folding it over to a dry section, and then we'll have a table that doesn't have any clay residue on it. So that's the basic premise for making a coil pot, and I will try to make a little film on how to finish up your pot and put that in fast motion so you can see what to do there.